Passion is often an unsung hero in consumable media, but it's a difficult thing to quantify. I do believe that anything made with passion behind it will ultimately be better than something that was made without. Passion provides a subliminal attachment to the end product, and that sentimentality can usually be felt regardless of the wider audience's reaction. Even if you don't enjoy the product, you can't help but feel and respect that the people involved did everything in their power to create something they could take pride in. Asterigos: Curse of the Stars, developed by Acme Gamestudios, is a testament to what can be achieved by a group of people that strive to deliver the best of their abilities. It's a very ambitious title, but there are times where that ambition can be a little cumbersome. In Asterigos, you play as Hilda, a warrior of the Northwind Legion from the Kingdom of Anbari. You're initially tasked with determining the status of a different mission that began 3 months prior. The original mission was started after the King of Anbari was exposed to a magical force originating from the city of Aphis that left him with a strange affliction. Hilda's father, Harold, led a team of warriors to investigate Aphis and uncover any information about how to cure the affliction. Hilda quickly discovers that the source of the affliction is a curse that has taken hold of every citizen of Aphis. After entering the city, Hilda encounters the adherents, who inform her that the curse has a name, Asterigos, and has persisted for 1,000 years. The curse has a magical origin and has mutated the citizens, turning their skin purple, rendering them unable to eat human food, and unable to age or reproduce. Cursed individuals can still starve or be killed, and upon death they're turned into stardust, the very resource they must consume in order to survive. The adherents are a faction of people working to lift the curse from Aphis, and offer to help Hilda complete her mission on the condition that she gathers intel and support within Aphis for the adherents. Asterigos plays similarly to souls-borne games and action RPGs, focusing on exploration and upgrades to become more powerful. The combat system takes the most inspiration from the souls-borne games, having 6 weapons to choose from, evading and stamina management, and a pool of astral points, or AP, to use more powerful skills. While the combat isn't as polished as a souls-borne game, it's still executed well with a good amount of variety brought by the weapons and skills available to Hilda. Combat can feel a little clunky, with a lack of an input buffer to easily chain actions, and some enemies end up feeling damage spongy with a large pool of health. There is stamina for dodging and sprinting in combat, but only your weapon techniques consume stamina. That means you can blindly swing normal attacks without fear of not having enough stamina to dodge. As the game progresses and Hilda and her enemies become more powerful, these issues become less apparent, or at least they did in my playthrough. There's also a clear influence from many popular action RPG games with things like leveling up, increasing attributes, and a talent tree. There are 3 attributes, Precision, Constitution, and Arcane, that each increase attack damage, health, skill damage, and AP recovery rate respectively. The talent tree offers more weapon skills that consume AP, perks that often grant a variation of existing skills and techniques, and passive skills that increase weapon potency and add more base attacks to your arsenal. While it's interesting to attempt to marry the more traditional Western action RPG with souls-borne mechanics, it unfortunately does bring to light the stark contrast between the 2 design philosophies and creates confusion around how the game wants to be perceived. Defeating enemies grants you both Stardust and experience points, but you're only made explicitly aware of the Stardust gained. You're shown the amount of Stardust you gain in the top right corner, but you aren't shown an explicit value of experience points. The only indicator of your level progress outside of the game menu is a bar above your health that increases when you defeat enemies, and as a result, I often felt like I was leveling up randomly throughout the game. When you're defeated, you respawn at conduits that you can activate and rest at as you explore areas, and you lose a small amount of Stardust. But because there's an experience system, Stardust is relegated to only being a currency used to purchase items and upgrades. Enemies also respawn when you're defeated or rest at a conduit, and enemies always grant you experience points and Stardust. Because Stardust and leveling up are structured as separate mechanics, I rarely thought about Stardust and would just focus on finishing the quest and upgrade my equipment after turning in the quest. There's also a fair amount of contrast and confusion in other aspects of Asterigos, especially at the start of the game. There's no minimap or positional information when navigating areas, but there is a quest overlay that tracks what main quests you need to do and what areas they're in. Characters will tell Hilda to go to specific locations early in the game, but there are no waypoints or maps with information about how to get to those areas. Items in your inventory have descriptions that add to the lore and world building of the game, but there are also many collectible audio and text logs. The audio logs, called echoes, exist as magical energy that have captured an important moment in time within Aphis. Echoes often provide additional insight into the main narrative, but text logs are incredibly varied. Text logs can provide more insight into the world and culture of Aphis, or they can just be a random diary entry or the ramblings of a nameless and unimportant individual. Another point I wanted to highlight was the writing. The writing in Asterigos isn't the best, but it's still executed well and has a certain charm to it. While the execution of what's meant to be said can be hit or miss, the intent and tone of the dialogue is always clear. One of my main criticisms with the writing in the first half of the game is that it feels dull and uninteresting. But after playing more of the game, I'm tempted to believe it was on purpose. At this point in the narrative, Hilda is an outsider and is trying to earn the trust of the adherents. The city of Aphis has always been wary of outsiders, and because Hilda is still earning their trust, almost every conversation boils down to Hilda saying something or asking a question only to be disparaged or rebuffed for being a child and an outsider. Initially, I found this very annoying and I was very uninterested in speaking with NPCs outside of what was necessary to progress the story. However, after the halfway point when Hilda successfully gains the trust of the adherents, the NPCs open up and are more willing to converse with Hilda and answer her questions. This shift in tone actually drew me more into the game world, and I was more inclined to revisit dialogue options that I had ignored in the first half of the game. The player experience isn't bad, but it isn't immune from similar issues of conflicting tones. When healing, Hilda will stop and move slowly to drink the flask, but the replenishment of health is also slow. It's a bit odd in my opinion to have the act of healing make you vulnerable, and then continue to leave you vulnerable as the slow healing ticks up. The UI can also feel clunky because sometimes you need to hold the confirm button to complete an action, but different actions have inconsistent hold times. Hold times can be slow enough to be annoying or so fast that I don't know why an instant button press wasn't used, especially when other actions in the overworld are accomplished with instant presses. But these points are really just nitpicking as I became used to them the longer I played the game, and I did enjoy Asterigos and played it through to the end. Despite these minor complaints, Asterigos is a very good game that I highly recommend. It's very easy to tell that lots of passion went into the development of Asterigos. Playing through the game feels like there were lots of good ideas that were pitched and time was spent to make sure that every idea was executed on. However, the result of accommodating everything is a few conflicting ideas that make some mechanics feel isolated and some content feel superfluous. I do think that there is a ton of potential for Acme Gamestudio, and I think if they're able to tighten up their design and development, their next project can stand out as exceptional. Thanks for watching, take care, and remember, keep having fun.